Good evening. It's 7 o'clock. I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Urbana City Council. It's Monday, April 16th, 2018.
City Council members Ammons.
Here.
Brown. Here. Hazen.
Here.
Jacobson.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Roberts.
Here.
Wu.
Here.
Mayor Marlin.
Here. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the April 2nd meeting?
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved by Jared, seconded by Dennis. Are there any corrections? Charlie?
Mayor, yeah, I added a bunch of corrections when I realized the wrong version was sent to you in the first round of emails. So you should have gotten you should have gotten an email with the correct version attached, not the ones that are in your packet.
Yes, that's the one I voted for.
And that's the one you moved, right?
That's the one I moved.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Are there any additions to the agenda?
Yes, I have a motion.
Okay.
Regarding, under new business, item number 2, ordinance number 2018-04031, an ordinance approving a special use permit, 520 North Cunningham Avenue, Tapman Family LLC, Plan Case 2341-SU-18, Community Development. I would like to move that to the very first item on unfinished business. And the reason is that we have 2 gentlemen here that would like to at least be available for questions, if not speak on it, and I was hoping to spare them the wait.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, we'll move that up. We have public input. I have cards from Christopher Oswald and Bill Joseph, and they'll be speaking at the time this item comes up on the agenda, which is actually now. So before us, we have ordinance number 2018-04-031. And Lori Pearson will be giving the staff presentation on that.
Thank you very much. So the item before you is a special use permit for a medical clinic, and I think one of the only reasons we would require a special use permit for a clinic is because in the zoning ordinance, under the table of uses, it is connected to hospital. So it says hospital or clinic requires a special use permit in the B3 zoning district. Otherwise, what I'm about to describe is not a very intense use. It is under 3,300 square feet. It is a medical clinic that is proposed just north of the intersection of Cunningham Avenue and University Avenue in a small outlot that has long been vacant. I will also mention that in the memo, it talks a little bit about the private covenants that are in place on this site, and I will show you in a moment how that constrains the site. But first, just to touch on the zoning, I mentioned it's zoned B3, one of our most intensive zoning districts, designed for commercial uses such as this one. Future land use also envisioned this to be a regional business area, of course. And then specifically, here's the site plan that's proposed for this item. As I mentioned, it's under 3,300 square feet. That building is placed where it is because of those private covenants. There's a dashed line here that actually is in place to protect visibility to the Walgreens to the south. That was negotiated with the property owner for this parcel, which is the same property owner as the strip mall as a whole. So that was negotiated in order to allow Walgreens to move in. There's also covenants that require this entrance to remain open. So the way that one would get to this site is either from Cunningham Avenue directly through this existing curb cut and then going into there, or potentially from along Park Street to turn into this private drive and then circle around there. There's also probably a few other covenants on there, for instance, where the sign goes and that kind of thing. But I wanted to make sure you were aware that this building is placed where it is, in part because of the private covenants that are in place here. And those were put in, I think, in about 2005 when this area was replatted. So, in terms of a special use permit, the criteria that one must consider when evaluating it are found on page 3 of your memo. I'm not going to go into these really specifically, but just to touch on the three of them. City staff, as well as the Plan Commission, when they met on April 5th, did find that these criteria have been met. The proposed use was found to be conducive to the public convenience at that location. A walk-in clinic just north of the pharmacy seemed to make a lot of sense, for instance. The proposed use was found to be designed, located, and proposed to be operated so that it will not be unreasonably injurious or detrimental. As I mentioned, it is in the B3 zoning district, a very active zoning district that envisions this kind of active use. And finally, the proposed use was found to conform with the applicable regulations and standards of this district. So in terms of the number of parking spaces where the building is located on the site, that all complies with the zoning. I mentioned the Plan Commission did recommend approval at their March 5th meeting with one condition. The condition that's listed in the memo has a slightly different date of the site plan that's corrected in the ordinance. So the condition would read that the use generally conforms to the site plan dated, in this case, April 11th, 2018. It's in attachment 1 of the ordinance, except where modified to meet city regulations. And with that, City Council has a few options. You can approve the special use permit, approve the use permit with conditions, or deny the use permit. Staff, as well as Plan Commission, would recommend approval.
Are there questions for Lori? Mary Alice?
So reading over the planning notes, I noticed that Mr. Trail voted no. And I could not figure out, based on the minutes, what his rationale was for that. Do you know?
He did express concern that this area is not very pedestrian-friendly and thought those that might be visiting the medical clinic may be pedestrians.
Okay. And then my second question, and I promise that's it, is to do with Walgreens. So they will be using Walgreens entrance. I'm sure it's not owned by Walgreens, but then they're cutting through those 2 parking spots. Is Walgreens aware of the site plan? And if so, did they have any comments?
This site plan is consistent with the private easements and agreement that was entered into in 2005, which included the owner of the Walgreens site at that time.
Okay.
So this is pretty much what people expected to happen in the future.
All right, thank you.
Dennis?
Yeah. So one of the other questions that came up was the placement of the sign which advertises the medical clinic, and I think it's going to be on the southwest corner. Is that correct? It's the acute corner that is along Cunningham Avenue. Is that where the signage would be for this medical center?
That's my understanding of where it's proposed. We do not yet have a sign permit for that, no.
So that discussion could come down the line a little bit. And the site plan shows a couple of shrubs and a tree abutting the parking lot and the street. So that would be added, and that would be for, what is that to?
That's to screen the parking. So the zoning ordinance allows parking to be at that location in a front yard if it is screened with a tree and 3 shrubs. So they are providing that in order to comply with the zoning ordinance requirements.
It looks like it could use 6 shrubs or so instead of 3. Is there an option for putting a few more screening shrubs? I
Well,
don't think that's going to really work very well, right?
The requirement is 3 shrubs and 1 tree for every 40 feet
40
where
feet.
parking would be at that location. So there's actually less than 40 feet of parking at that location. So we round up.
Well, maybe we'll ask the developer if he'd be, or the owner coming up would be, if he'd be interested in adding a couple more shrubs. I think that would be nice. And one more question about it is the new private drive, which is going to be connecting Park Street and the basically what the access and parking lot to Walgreens. And okay, so as I remember, that's not currently existing. So
Oh, it is. Let me show you on the
So you do have that.
aerial. Mhm.
okay. All right, that is the other access road, okay. All right, so, okay, thanks. I guess I'll have a question maybe when the gentlemen come up.
Any other questions for Lori? And we'll follow with comments from the 2 representatives. Eric?
Well, it's just a comment. I know that the identity of the medical clinic is proprietary, but I'll just say I would be shocked if it were not a member of the chain that's associated with Walgreens.
Okay. Christopher Oswald and Bill Joseph, do you want to come up together? Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, we don't want to take too much of your time this evening because we did have an extensive discussion with this at the Planning Commission. So other than saying that we believe that this project would fit well with the area and fit well with the center, we would just like to make ourselves available for any questions that you might have.
Dennis?
So let me just again, just generally ask, so the walk-in services that you're going to provide are pretty much general health related.
Right. This is
It's not going to be a specialty clinic or something like this.
right. The tenant would say that these are ambulatory care services. In other words, you come in on your feet, you leave on your feet. It's been billed as a prompt or urgent care type facility where you come in and can seek treatment. Instead of going to your regular doctor, you'd come to this doctor. I suppose it could, in some circumstance, just be a standard doctor's office at some point if they wanted that too. The medical clinic use would allow that. The size is appropriate for that. But right now, it's just been billed as ambulatory clinic prompt care.
So if you had an abraised knee, or if you had even a dislocated shoulder, you could come here?
That would be consistent with that type of use, yes.
That'd be not emergency care, but it would
Right.
be. Okay. And then I guess my last question was, a little bit more screening would be desirable along the Cunningham Avenue face of the western edge of the parking. Do you think that a couple more bushes could be added to the site plan, and would that be an impossible request?
No, I think that's a fair request, as long as we don't block our ground monument sign just to
Right.
south of those shrubs.
Mhm.
But no, we're a fan of making it look as nice as possible.
Yeah,
So-
it looks like the ground, like the sign is positioned in a place where it could be seen because it's at an acute angle there in the corner, and, but I appreciate your concern about that, so I'd like you to just consider it.
Any other questions? Mary Alice?
I'm wondering if a decision has been made in terms of the hours of operation. Will it be open on the weekends?
I don't know if that decision's been made yet. It hasn't been expressed to me directly. Bill, I don't think you
I
would
haven't
know
heard.
anything about that. But I would expect that it would be, if it's the type of prompt care facility that this particular tenant typically operates, it would be open on the weekends.
Okay, it's just, it would be nice to have other options for medical treatment in the
Sure.
town. Yeah.
Eric?
So this will be operating completely independently, as far as we know so far, of existing healthcare providers?
Unfortunately, I can't speak to that right now, just because of the nature of the deal that's being put together with all of the interested parties.
Dennis?
Yeah, one more. Would you expect, or would you request for the name of the clinic to be also on the building facing Cunningham?
Yes,
So there would be another option for being able to cite the building.
right.
All right, so that might allow you to put a couple more bushes on the parking lot.
I know that they are specifically interested in maintaining that monument sign,
Mhm.
so we will work with the city to come up with something that works on that.
Yeah, but just look at the site plan. I mean, as far as the line of sight at the corner,
Sure.
I think there'd be clearance for one or two more bushes.
Aaron?
So it's always kind of tricky, and we're supposed to play our role in this, and basically we're just trying to approve the special permit. But it's always interesting to me to find out as much as I possibly can about what I'm voting yes for,
Sure.
because I know it's actually more than just a special permit. But by law, Jim, I understand what I'm supposed to do, just to make sure that we're clear about that. We're not getting any legal problems, Dean. So there's nothing that you could share publicly as to what, other than what you've shared so far as to what this is going to be?
I can't share the name of the tenant with you. I can say that it's a reputable healthcare provider that will be the tenant in this space. I really can't disclose too much more without disclosing.
You could tell
Who
us
they
what
are.
letter it starts with or something.
It is a letter of the alphabet.
As far as the development and the, who's going to be doing the work on this project, what can you share with us about that? Is it going to be union labor? Is it going to be minority participation goals tied to this project?
More than likely, it will be union labor on the entire project.
All right, that's all I have for now.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I will make a motion for approval.
Second.
Moved by Dean, seconded by Aaron. Any further discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Council members Ammons.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Hazen.
Yes.
Jacobson.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Roberts.
Yes.
And Wu.
Yes.
That motion passes.
Welcome to Urbana.
Thank you
Thank you very much. I have several other public input cards. One from Eldris Melinda Carr, who expresses continued concerns about Dr. Ellis subdivision sewer issues, equity, and historic impact. One from Bishop King James Underwood and Reverend Dr. Evelyn B. Underwood. They choose not to address members, but they are continually concerned about the Dr. Ellis subdivision sewer problems. And then a card from Dr. Underwood. I'm not sure what. Ah, okay, gotcha. Okay. Would you like to? At the time. Well, we're at the time. Yes. This is the standing committee.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council persons, or should I say alder persons? I have a question. I can't say Miss Kelly's last name, and I don't want to butcher it. Is she here? Oh, she's not here yet. But she presented this last week. Is Mr. John? Yeah, I think he was at the meeting, the hearing that I attended. Do you recall that, sir? The hearing. I was the only person in the audience. What hearing wasn't that relating to this issue?
Which issue are you talking about?
The ordinance approving an amendment to the City of Urbana and Urbana Home Consortium, Urbana-Champaign County.
Consolidated plan.
The home,
Is it the home
yes,
consortium?
yes.
The amendment to the consolidated plan?
No, the whole 5-year plan.
Right, that's,
And the
right.
updated plan.
Yeah,
There was a hearing.
that's the Community Development Commission, probably. I wasn't at that hearing, but I'm,
No, it was hearing in this here.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a hearing
Okay.
here. And you and Ms. Kelly.
probably Matt Regic
Okay,
was here.
was here, and it
Right.
was a public hearing,
Mhm.
and only one person attended,
Right.
and I was the only attendee there. It was open to the public. And I had several questions relating to the 5-year plan and all, and I did not bring all of my information. I
Well,
should have.
if you'd like, I mean, we can arrange to meet with you.
It was relating to this issue, and I have like about 90 pages. I had my friend to provide me, and I've read some
Okay.
of it. Not all.
Well, the two issues that are coming before council are related to the amendment of the plan.
Yes.
One of them was to add the target area in the Learman neighborhood area, and it reduced a portion of the target area, and that's based on the area median income and based on a survey that was completed in the Learman area neighborhood. And the other part of that is about the public input process.
Yes.
And as part of that, in past consolidated plans, we always articulated our public input process as part of that.
Yes.
And when staff was reviewing the last consolidated plan submittal, it became all computerized. So, and it's a kind of a difficult process to input all this information and then go back and review it and make sure it's complete, but HUD accepted it. And then when staff was reviewing for the amendment, they found out that this public hearing process wasn't complete. That's why they wanted to, that's the intent of this amendment, is to ensure that the public hearing process, we follow a certain process to get public input by advertising on the website, sending out newsletters and things of that nature, and making announcements in the public meetings, also posting it on the city website, things of that nature.
And I should have brought that acronym, AFF. Am I getting, do you understand? AFF.
Are you
is
talking
some-
about like impediments to a fair housing choice?
Yes. The fair housing, I think it was last week, the 50 year passing of the fair housing. It's been almost 50 years now. Last week, the signing of the fair housing. I was reading that and relating to that. President Obama, under his administration, he's strengthening that. And we talked about 20 minutes at that hearing about that. And that's why I'm sorry.
Affirmatively furthering fair housing opportunity, I think, is what you're talking about.
Yes, I am.
And what happened was that HUD, they indicated that we needed to update our plan to include that, and we actually mobilized a local group with City of Champaign, Rantoul, Home Consortium
And
members,
Home, yes.
Champaign County, to address that, and then HUD changed what we were asked to do. And my understanding of it is that group is still going forward, but in preparation of the requirements. But typically when HUD tells us we have to do something, they tell us we have to do something, and then they gradually give us the information like the requirements and the timeline and things of that nature. But my understanding is that the Secretary has made a decision to set that aside or to delay that implementation of that.
Okay, that's been set aside. Okay, now, getting to page 2 of the memo, last week's memo, on the fiscal impact. Okay. Oh, my time is fiscal impacts. I had to get the little background. Okay.
Mary Alice?
I'll move that she be given 3 more minutes to finish up her question.
I'd second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
I just wanted to get that little background in
Sure.
because, okay. Now, it said CB, this Community Development Block Grants Fund that could be utilized for needed public improvement in the added targeted areas. Now, given what I've kind of talked about, what are they talking about, the added target areas?
That's the Learman neighborhood.
Okay.
So that was added as a result of a staff survey
Okay.
and submittal to HUD. So that was approved. We went through a process followed the HUD prescribed process, submitted to the Community Development Commission, had meetings through that process, and then we brought it to council. And I apologize, I don't remember exactly when that was, but that was looks like it was in February, I think. It was in February 2018. So
Okay.
that part of it came to council, and then this is just, we asked to amend the target area, and then we wanted to add it to the consolidated plan, so it's a complete plan.
Okay, that's the Learman area.
Correct.
Okay, because some people are trying to help us with some things and provide some information and what President Obama had done to make it more important. They want us to make sure that we keep an eye on that and keep an eye on what's going on here and what is being passed, so we can see what other things can be helpful to us.
Sure.
And I know our area is part of the target
Yes, it is.
plan, but then for low income, but then there might be some other things they're saying that those funds might be able to be used for under these new plans. And I'm not well aware of that, and I don't want to take too much of
Okay.
time, so we're gonna keep,
And anytime you have a question, just if you give Kelly a call, she'd be happy to explain to her, Matt.
yeah, but we have to be intelligent enough to know the question that we need
Sure.
to ask, and that's why we want to kind of keep informed on this. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you. Next up is reports of the standing committees, which would be the Committee of the Whole. Chairman Wu.
On behalf of the Committee of the Whole, I move approval of ordinance number 2018-04029, an ordinance approving an amendment to the City of Urbana and Urbana Home Consortium, Urbana-Champaign County fiscal year 2015-2019 consolidated plan.
I'll second that.
Moved by Mary Alice, seconded by Dennis. Any discussion? Will the clerk, or Aaron?
I thought there were some things that we were supposed to get clarified.
I believe that'll come up under B and C.
For the home consortium? I thought this was for the money for Champaign, correct?
I thought you had the
This is the Bristol.
Bristol Place.
No.
Oh, okay, all right.
This is the amendment.
Okay.
I thought that was, all right. Okay.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
City Council members Ammons.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Hazen.
Yes.
Jacobson.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Roberts.
Yes.
And Wu.
Yes.
That motion passes. Mary Alice?
On behalf of the Committee of the Whole, I move approval for resolution number 2018-04014R, a resolution approving the transfer of volume cap in connection with private activity bonds issued, single-family mortgage revenue bonds, and related matters.
I'll second.
Moved by Mary Alice, seconded by Jared. Any discussion? Aaron? And
So,
then Mary Alice?
I have spoken with, just briefly, John and I spoke about this, and I told him I wouldn't ask him to explain all of this to everyone else. My basic understanding is that there's an opportunity for the city to use this activity bond for our benefit and for the benefit of the taxpayers of the city of Urbana. And it just appeared to me that this was an opportunity for us to generate revenue, and it was being handed to a different entity. I further understand that there's a way to reserve it with EIDA. I can't keep getting it all mixed up, but assist, the two entities that we would seed the money to. The assist program would go towards assisting individuals with down payments on homes to be purchased in the city of Urbana, right? And the other program, the other half of the money would be held in reserve for a later date, possible for us to do a project in the city of Urbana. My concern and what I got from some constituents was that this money had been seeded or would be seeded, and there would be no requirement for those two entities to do work in the city of Urbana. So I wanted to make sure that that was clarified, that either way it goes, the work will be done in the city of Urbana, and the residents and taxpayers of the city of Urbana will benefit from all of that money. Is that an absolute yes?
If a project, an eligible project, is funded by bonds issued through this bond cap process, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mary Alice?
I was looking at the map on the assist organizations, originations in Urbana, and I believe this map shows us, I don't know what page, it's almost at the end of it, where the housing has been approved for assistance in down payments. One of my questions was, right now they're kind of clustered in East Urbana. I don't see anything in North Urbana. There's one house north of 74. So my question is this, how is it advertised? How do people who may be interested in this be able to find out about the program?
The assist is marketed through local lenders, so any lender that participates. Another thing is we have our community reinvestment group where our staff meets with local lenders that participate in the community reinvestment group, and typically it's people who have to, who are required to show community reinvestment activity, compliant with the CRG, Community Investment Act. And so the banks, the lenders that assist works through the lenders. So the lenders, basically, if somebody comes in, when somebody comes in to get a loan, a mortgage loan for their property, they do pre-qualification, and if they need down payment assistance at that time, that's when those opportunities are presented. I believe it's also marketed through the first-time homebuyers. CRG also produces a first-time homebuyers program that is out of the Parkland Business Center, and each one of the lenders volunteers to proctor that or to teach those classes. So, and through that, first-time homebuyers come in and they learn about the process for first-time homebuyers buying and the things that would be required of them. They can also go through a pre-qualification process, and they would also find out all of the local down payment assistance type programs that are available to them.
So would it be possible, I'm not going to hold up the vote by any means, but I'm not sure the timeline in terms of was this the last year, was this the last 3 years? It would be interesting to me to see maybe the past 10 years in terms of where the ASSIST program was able to help people.
Sure.
Okay, thank
We
you.
can get that for you.
Aaron?
So I struggle to find the exact word that I want to use in this moment, but what it makes me think about, something that I know that John Lee Johnson worked on quite a bit with Busey Bank and others in the past around the issues around redlining, right? And so it's a concern. You just made me sort of think about this more in depth. I'm thinking about the map myself, that is there a way for us to, in the same spirit in which we push for MWBE representation and access to contracts, is there a way for us to work with ASSIST to make sure that demographically that the program is dispersed in a more equitable manner? Is that possible?
I think we can request that. One of the things that in the last few years, most of the development, I think, in north of University Avenue and west of Lincoln Avenue, a lot of the housing has been property. We've worked with Habitat. We've reduced, removed a lot of blight. Worked with Habitat, and typically Habitat sources, they fund their own mortgages, and they act as their own bank. So they wouldn't need that ASSIST down payment, but they're all first-time home buyers. But we can certainly ask, first of all, we can get the map to identify this just might be in the 1 year time period. But the group you talked about, or the thing that you talked about with John Lee, he actually was the genesis of the CRG group, and that continues on to this day. So they talk about different ways to invest in the community.
I know that there was a median income. Was it like 74,000 or something like that?
The ASSIST is, the median income for ASSIST is higher. It has to do with what's, I think it's through the Illinois Housing Development Authority and the state. It's a little bit higher than what it is for assistance for CDBG or home program funds.
So the average price of the homes that these funds will be used for, do we know the answer to that?
I can get that for you, but I don't know that there's an average price. I mean, we can find out. We can get demographics on the buyers, but basically our current restriction is that it be in Urbana, and that provide down payment assistance to households who meet the income qualifications.
Okay.
Any other questions? Will the clerk please call the roll?
City Council members Ammons.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Hazen.
Yes.
Jacobson.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Roberts.
Yes.
And Wu.
Yes.
That motion passes. Mary Alice?
On behalf of the Committee of the Whole, I move approval for Resolution Number 2018-04015R, a resolution approving the transfer of volume cap in connection with private activity bonds issues, single-family mortgage revenue bonds, and related matters.
Second.
Okay, help me out there. Let's see, Eric,
Eric-
I'll give that
let
one to
Eric-
Eric. Have that one.
Okay,
Moved by Mary Alice, seconded by Eric. Any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
City Council members Ammons.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Hazen.
Yes.
Jacobson.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Roberts.
Yes.
And Wu.
Yes.
That motion passes. Mary Alice?
Finally, on behalf of the Committee of the Whole, I move approval for Resolution Number 2018-04016R, a resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement amendment between the City of Urbana and Illinois Department of Revenue inspections of liquor license holders' premises.
Pursuant to the Illinois Liquor Control Act 1934, I will have to recuse myself from this vote and also from the next item on the agenda as well. Thanks very much.
But I will second that.
Moved by Mary Alice, seconded by Dean. Any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
City Council members Ammons.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Hazen.
Yes.
Jacobson.
Yes.
Roberts.
Yes.
And Wu.
Yes.
That motion passes. Thank you very much. Reports of special committees. Reports of officers. Okay. We have one item under new business remaining, and that is ordinance number 2018-04-030. It's an ordinance amending Urbana City Code Chapter 3, Section 3-43, which will increase the number of Class R1 liquor licenses for Casa Del Mar Incorporated, doing business as Casa Del Mar, 2870 South Philo Road, Urbana. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Aaron,
Second.
seconded by Eric. Any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
City Council members Ammons.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Hazen.
Yes.
Jacobson.
Yes.
Roberts.
Yes.
And Wu.
Yes.
That motion passes. With no further business being before this council, this meeting is adjourned.